The metaverse, I explain it as it's a universe of virtual worlds. Over the last sort of 15, even sort of say 20 years ago, there was companies creating 3D spaces that people as avatars could explore. What we now have, say the last 18 months, is we have the emergence of Web3 platforms operating on a blockchain, token-backed or running with cryptocurrencies. And these are platforms which are attempting to create virtual worlds that have economies built on a blockchain. So there's more of a financial reason to engage. That the platforms which will succeed in Web3 are those that focus on specific genres. We call them vertical worlds. Focus on football, focus on fishing, focus on food and the entire user experience, the economy, the events, even the avatar clothing or the accessories are built towards the niches. If you give a brand's advocate, fans of a brand, if you give them the ability to create themselves underneath the umbrella of the brand, it's like gold dust for companies. The metaverse, I explain it as it's a universe of virtual worlds. So over the last sort of 15, even sort of say 20 years ago, there was companies creating 3D spaces that people as avatars could explore. So this isn't a new concept. The metaverse isn't something new, but it's the collective universe or the collective grouping of all the different virtual worlds that are in existence that live on the internet. Some cater for much younger audiences, Roblox or Minecraft or Fortnite, gamified virtual worlds, massively popular, hundreds of millions of monthly active users. That's really where a lot of the metaverse activity takes place with the younger audience. Not Web3, I'll touch on Web3 in a moment, but these are Web2 platforms, centralized, operated by companies. And we look at the total population of the metaverse of 520 million MAUs, 90% of those are in these younger platforms. Okay. What we now have, say the last 18 months, is we have the emergence of Web3 platforms operating on a blockchain, token-backed or running with cryptocurrencies. And these are platforms which are attempting to create virtual worlds that have economies built on a blockchain. So there's more of a financial reason to engage. There's issues with it. And I've touched on these previously, which is when you look at how old you have to be to purchase crypto or to go through a fiat to a crypto gateway or even to have a crypto wallet, typically you need to be 18 or older in most countries. So there's an issue in the market, which is the bulk of the users are young, 12 to 13, but all of these new Web3 platforms, you kind of need to be 18. Okay, so it's an interesting dynamic that's taking place.
But you think we are coming back to the beginning of internet when porn started and you have 12 years old and you said, are you 18? And you said, yes, of course I'm 18.
Sure, so then, and that's a really good question, right?
I can use the ID of my father or my mother or nobody knows who I am.
You absolutely can. But then the game mechanics of most Web3 virtual worlds is based on play to earn or learn to earn or move to earn, X to earn. There's an activity that has to take place and you earn currency, you earn cryptocurrency. Now, the way that lots of these economies are structured means that you can game the system by purchasing crypto and getting ahead of everyone else. And that's the stumbling block because sure, well, I've got 4 sons, they're all older. If I had a younger son who was say 8 and I gave him my crypto wallet to register for a Web3 platform, he's going to hit a ceiling at some point where he's saying, I need to buy some crypto. And that's exactly what these companies want the users to do, because obviously supply and demand, crypto prices go up. So you're correct to a degree, up to the point where the user says, well, how can I actually buy some crypto? Because I want to get ahead in the economy. We're going to see, in fact, we're working on a project that's related to this. We're going to see the advent of kid-safe crypto wallets, okay, or the ability for a miner in a very protective manner, in a very protective sort of user journey, to actually have their own crypto wallets, okay. And this will be done jurisdiction by jurisdiction. So that will sort of counter a lot of the current issues with it. There are still other issues in the Web3 market, and this comes down to the sorts of virtual worlds which are being created. Okay. Now, most Web3 virtual worlds are creating platforms known as open worlds. Okay. And an open world means that there's a variety of different activities that the games, the platforms are designed to have. You can play games, you can buy virtual real estate, you can build, you can socialize, you can do A, B, and C. Now, the analogy I use is the one tennis ball approach, okay? If I threw one tennis ball at you, you would catch it, okay? If I said to you, our platform is about just this, you'd understand it. But if I threw two tennis balls at you, you might catch one, you probably will catch neither. Where I'm going with this is with open worlds, and I would probably say about 65% of the current Web3 platforms are trying to create virtual worlds, which are all things to all people. And you can do a whole multitude of different activities. It doesn't work. And it doesn't work because it doesn't do one thing really, really well. That the platforms which will succeed in Web3 are those that focus on specific genres. We call them vertical worlds. Focus on football, focus on fishing, focus on food. Pick a vertical, pick a niche, and do that really, really well. There's some great reasons as well. Let's suppose it's the fishing virtual world, okay? You're pretty sure every other person you'll meet in that world likes fishing. So you immediately have something in common with them, okay?
Community.
That's exactly it. It's exactly that. So where is this whole Web3 sector going? The open worlds will largely fail because they won't be able to attract and retain users. And if you can't retain the users, you can't monetize them, you can't grow the communities, so on and so forth. The platforms that will succeed will be the ones who are focusing on these niches. You know, one tennis ball, one niche, and the entire user experience, the economy, the events, even the avatar clothing or the accessories are built towards the niches. Well, with Web3, hardly anyone's monetizing. You know, the user base is still very, very small. You know, it's 0.9% of the total population. So, sure, with some of these Web3 platforms, they're having virtual land sales, so they're monetizing at the land sale stage. But in terms of ongoing user monetization, it's not happening in Web3. It's happening all the time in Web2. If you look at the popularity of avatar skins in Fortnite, or the popularity of Roblox gift cards and their currencies, the Robux, that's being heavily monetized because they're better platforms that build experiences that cater to the most, and I won't use the word lucrative because I'm referring to minors, but they're the most engaging platforms. And when kids want to spend time in a platform, they bring their friends in. Then when they get home from school, everyone hangs out in their favorite platforms. If you have that community, and you used the word community earlier, once you have that community, monetization is a lot more of a natural activity. Well, okay, so then what we're doing now is we're looking at a completely different sector of the metaverse, which is the non-consumer facing side. hospitals, doctors, medical device companies. You know, these are companies that have been working in the metaverse for years and years and years. We worked with Johnson & Johnson on their metaverse project over 10 years ago. There's a lot of metaverse projects which take place behind closed doors, or they're for internal use. You know, and I'd probably say about half of the projects that we do as a company, they're never publicized commercially because they're for an internal purpose. So yeah, you touched on things like medicine, healthcare, real estate, architecture, you know, construction, interior design, manufacturing, digital twins and factories, huge subject. So there's an awful lot of use cases for the metaverse, which aren't aimed at consumers. They're aimed to solve business problems, and that's a really interesting and very exciting side of the metaverse. Digital twins is a huge topic with the metaverse. So digital twin, recreating a real world factory or office or building or location, recreating it virtually, okay? Allowing avatars to move into it, and then allowing things, for example, with customization or looking at workflows. We have a client and we're actually they're building a new factory in the real world. We've already built it virtually. Okay, and we're allowing the architects, the planners, the different stakeholders in the real world project to actually explore and go into the digital twin before the real one is built. And you can use that concept across many different categories. Stadium design, house building, anything that is kind of constructed in the real world and could be improved by tweaking it or being able to explore it before it's built properly is a huge use case for the metaverse.
What about
So where the metaverse does not assist with things like retail and fashion is simply recreating shops in a virtual world. Okay, and there's a very simplistic reason for it. It's difficult for avatars to drive or steer themselves around a shop floor. Okay, so that sort of cloning doesn't work. What will work really, really well is not so much allowing avatars to wear virtual clothes. And although that's popular, that's possible, and I touched on this on my presentation this morning, if you give a brand's advocate, you know, fans of a brand, you know, their customers, their advocates, their fans, their ambassadors, if you give them the ability to create themselves underneath the umbrella of the brand, that's like gold dust for companies, you know, and empowering real world fans of brands to go into a virtual space and create new designs or new clothing or new hairstyles, whatever it might be, that's really one of the key benefits of virtual worlds, is this sense of self-expression and allowing UGC, user-generated content, you know, and put it back into the hands of the fans. That's really where fashion is going to go with the metaverse. Well, the experience is greatly enhanced, and particularly with virtual reality, with VR. To put on a headset and be inside an experience is infinitely more interesting than looking something on a flat screen, because you're part of it, you know, and it's not asynchronous. It's not me just consuming content one way from a screen. If I'm put inside a virtual environment, inside a metaverse, it's a synchronous experience. I'm actually part of it. I'm engaging with it and in it, as opposed to just being fed information. So I mean, I'm not a huge fan of NFTs. Okay, I'm yet to be completely sold on the role that NFTs have. So that might not be the answer that you want to hear, but that's my position on it. One of the issues with NFTs is the lack of secondary market. Okay, and the amount of wash trading that takes place at the exchange level. Okay, so there's very much a fictitious market that's created for NFTs. Your question, how do NFTs and art intersect? I don't really think there's anything there that's that interesting at the moment, because it's not really a valid use case. Okay.
But it's some success cases for some artists who
Well,
sold
yeah, yes, but
economically.
yes, but that was really in the bubble period of NFTs. I think trading and pricing's down over 95% since those bubbles. So it was super popular very, very early, and everyone was announcing NFTs as the solution to everyone's prayers. But I don't really see it. Well, it began a long time ago, is the point. I mean, I've been in this space since 2006, and I was having these discussions 15 years ago. We just weren't using terms like Web3 or NFTs. So there's nothing. Although this is a very new, this is still a new field. What's happened, I'd say, the last 2 years is it's become major news. They're news. They're more big. They're larger news stories. And also, because of the size of some of these Web2 platforms, the size of Roblox, Fortnite, and Minecraft, brands are paying interest to it much more than they used to. Okay? So when brands are pushing marketing dollars into it, then it kind of lifts the whole sector. Yeah. So I actually had the idea for our universe charts in a dream. I woke up one morning with the kind of seeing it quite clearly. I was looking for a way. Actually, I was asked to speak at a conference, and I was figuring out a way. How can I visualize the metaverse or the virtual worlds? And some were big, and some were small, and some were catering for these markets and some for that. So this sort of idea of having a construct or a schematic, which allowed companies to be plotted and to sort of plot their course as they grew, was the early idea for our universe charts, and they've just grown from there. We've now got over 150 different platforms in our universe, and it will continue to grow. So yeah, we love our universe charts. They travel far and wide. So. Yeah, sports, live events, concerts, all those, specific. You use the word niche. I use the word verticals. Verticals, that's going to drive it. You look at virtual concerts, or the ability to recreate a football match inside a virtual stadium, and then have an unlimited amount of seats. You're not limited to 80,000 seats in a real-world stadium. You can have 80 million. They're the use cases which are very, very interesting.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you. We're gonna take